So we've had the overview. Now we're going to get down to the nectarian details of the process of awakening the dormant Krishna Bhakti within the heart. We touched on them briefly, but now we'll go into more detail. The first thing is Sraddha. If you have no faith in the process, then why would you want to put your energy into it? If you don't believe something's going to work, why would you even do it? You see? There has to be faith. So we get faith by, in the early days, just by seeing Prabhupada, we got tons of faith. As soon as we saw Prabhupada, we knew this is it. Even hearing about him, just hearing about Prabhupada's qualities, his pastimes, his teachings, even without seeing Prabhupada, just by seeing the followers of Prabhupada, how they were amazing Paramahamsas. You would get faith just by seeing Prabhupada's followers. What to speak of seeing Prabhupada? Just by seeing one of Prabhupada's followers, you go, wow, this is an incredible process. Look at the consciousness of this person. This person is not an ordinary person of this world. This person is living in another dimension, tasting nectar that I don't experience in my daily life. In his daily life, he is tasting so much nectar. So that gave us faith, you see that even just how much the followers of Prabhupada were living in a transcendental existence. So this faith will make you or break you. We have to have strong faith. Yasya deve para bhaktir tata deve tata goro tasyaide kitita yarata prakashante mahatmana. Only unto those souls who have unflinching faith in the words of Sri Guru and Krishna are the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. So somehow or other we have to have the faith, that unflinching faith. Prabhupada recognized our doubtfulness. He told us in Los Angeles, he said, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, and you were thinking, maybe. His initiated disciple. He told us that he could see we were doubtful about Krishna's ability to lift the Govardhan Hill. So this is a problem we have to work on, that tendency to doubt. Why did Arjuna address Krishna as Madhusudana? Madhusudana Das, do you know? Do you know why Krishna was addressed as Madhusudana by Arjuna? That's right. Because Krishna had killed the Madhu demon. He's known as Madhusudana. So Arjuna is thinking, well, I have so many madhus in my heart, so many demons of doubt in my heart, and my dear Madhusudana, you have killed a Madhu demon, now you kindly kill this Madhu. The demons in my heart. Demons of doubt within my heart. So that should be the mood, that I want to, these demons of doubt must be killed. My dear Krishna, my dear spiritual master, my dear Vaishnava Thakur, please kill these demons of doubt sitting within my heart, so there'll be no impediment for my progress on the pathway back to home, back to Godhead. There's some very nice shlokas about faith in the scriptures. Here's one from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 23, text 9. Kona bhagye kona jivera shraddha yadihaya tabe se jiva sadhu sanga ye karaya. If by good fortune a living entity develops faith in Krishna, he begins to associate with devotees. You were asking, where does faith come from? So here, Krishna Das Kaviraj is saying, or maybe it's Lord, he's quoting someone, I don't know who he's quoting. Could be Lord Chaitanya, I'm not sure. But he's saying by good fortune, somehow or other one has faith in Krishna, then he associates with devotees. So what if I don't have any faith? What do I do then? Faith is a contagious disease. If I don't have faith and I want it, I know that I need it, but I'm lacking in it, then I should associate with those persons who have faith. Because by that association, then the faithful tendency within the heart will become ignited, turned on. Another verse. Well, here's a quote from Prabhupada, and he defines faith in his purport in the Bhagavad Gita. This is very wonderful. He says, faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. And faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. So what could be more sublime than Krishna consciousness? This is the supreme sublime. So if we can, and so faith means unflinching. That means I never deviate from it. There's famous guards at Buckingham Palace. I have not seen, but I have heard. I have seen, though, in the U.S. they have the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. They have similar soldiers, ceremonial guards who stand there, and they don't flinch. They're just like machines. If you go like this and try to get them to do it like that, they won't. You see that? You can go like this, and they won't. No, they're just like. Because if you pick up a gun or something, then they'll definitely come out of that ceremonial guard position. But they don't flinch, you see. They'll blink their eyes, you have to blink your eyes. But other than that, they don't flinch, they're just... So, that's the kind of faith we have to have. You can be sitting in a room with 10,000 people, atheists, who tell you that, you've been duped, you've been brainwashed. These Hare Krishna people, they've done a number on your head. They hypnotized you. They put some drug in your food, and they turned you into a zombie. You see? And you're sitting there, 10,000 people are arguing with you. What will you do? Will you cave in? Or will you have your faith be so strong that you can argue all of them down? 10,000 people, you can argue them down. You see? That's faith. But if you were sent to some country, your spiritual master has sent you, okay, now I want you to go to this country and make them Krishna conscious. And you go there and everyone in the whole country is an atheist. Not one person believes in God even. And will you lose your faith because of that situation? Or if your faith is very strong, you won't let any amount of negativity overcome you, you see. You will just pray for the mercy of Guru and Krishna, and by your faith, you'll be able to conquer that country, philosophically conquer them and make them Krishna conscious. That is faith. Another nice verse. This is the verse in Bhagavad Gita, actually, that talks about 3 different kinds of faith. We'll study that in this connection. Sadvanu rupa sarvashya Sraddha bhavati bharata Shraddhi mayo yang purusho yogat shadasa eva saha. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Everyone has a particular type of faith, regardless of what he is. But his faith is considered good, passionate, or ignorant according to the nature he has acquired. Thus, according to his particular type of faith, one associates with certain persons. Now, the real fact is that every living being, as is stated in the 15th chapter, is originally a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one is originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature. But when one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into contact with the material nature in conditional life, he generates his own position by association with the different varieties of material nature. The resultant artificial faith and existence are only material. So note this. Prabhupada is making a distinction between real faith and artificial faith. In other words, everyone has faith. You cannot live without faith. Even when you get on an elevator, you put your faith in that elevator. It's not that you get out there and you go in there and examine the cables before you go up and down the elevator or the airplane. Not that you say, well, let me inspect the engines first, please. And let me go in the cockpit and meet the pilot and make sure he's not intoxicated. It happens sometimes. When pilot got in trouble, he was a little inebriated. I mean, but we put our faith. You see? We're always putting our faith. So, if one is under the influence of the modes of nature, one will have artificial faith, and if one is free from the modes of nature, one will have natural faith. The natural faith is the faith in God. That is natural faith. And artificial faith is what one has when one is under the influence of the modes of nature. So now we'll pick up again with the purport. Although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life, originally he is nirguna or transcendental. Therefore, one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only path back without fear, Krishna consciousness. If one is situated in Krishna consciousness, then that path is guaranteed for his elevation to the perfectional stage. If one does not take to this path of self-realization, then he is surely to be conducted by the influence of the modes of nature. The word Sraddha, or faith, is very significant in this verse. Sraddha, or faith, originally comes out of the mode of goodness. You ask where it comes from? It comes from Sattva. One's faith may be in a demigod or some created god or some mental concoction. One's strong faith is supposed to be productive of works of material goodness. But in material conditional life, no works are completely purified. They are mixed. They are not in pure goodness. Pure goodness is transcendental. In purified goodness, one can understand the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as one's faith is not completely in purified goodness, the faith is subject to contamination by any of the modes of material nature. The contaminated modes of material nature expand to the heart. Therefore, according to the position of the heart, in contact with a particular mode of material nature, one's faith is established. It should be understood that if one's heart is in the mode of goodness, his faith is also in the mode of goodness. If his heart is in the mode of passion, his faith is also in the mode of passion. And if his heart is in the mode of darkness, illusion, his faith is also thus contaminated. Thus we find different types of faith in this world, and there are different types of religions due to different types of faith. The real principle of religious faith is situated in the mode of pure goodness. Because the heart is tainted, we find different types of religious principles. Thus, according to different types of faith, there are different kinds of worship. So this explains different kinds of religious practices. Some people in the name of God will engage in a terrorist activity to kill innocent people, for example. You see, that's faith in the mode of ignorance. So the faith tendency is there. If we want to actually realize God, then we have to purify that faith. We have to have faith in the mode of goodness, which morphs gradually through the Sraddha to Prema process into pure goodness. So it's not a matter of having faith, it's a matter of purifying the natural tendency for faith that we already have. By one's modes of nature he has acquired due to his past life's activities, he will naturally be inclined to a certain type of faith. If one is fortunate to have acquired sattvic qualities, be the previous life's activities or present life's association, then his faith will be toward the transcendental existence. If one doesn't have such faith, still he can gain such faith by associating with transcendentalists. That will be discussed in the next section, Sadhu Sanga, because the Sadhu Sanga can transform the quality of one's faith from Tamagun to Rajagun, Rajagun to Sattvagun, and Sattvagun to Shuddha Sattvaguna. So the Sadhu Sanga is very essential. And our society is meant to provide that Sadhu Sanga for the suffering people of the world, so that everyone can have the opportunity to develop purified faith. And see, that's what's separating us from a whole Krishna conscious world society. People's faith is not sattvic faith. They have faith in rajas, tamas, faith. But if people's faith can become purified, then we'll see that thousands and millions of people will come to join this movement. So this is a very important principle, the principle of purifying the quality of faith which is there within everyone. Another nice verse on faith from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text number 62. Shraddha shabde vishvashakahe sudridda nishchaya Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma kritahaya. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. Purport. Firm faith and confidence are called Shraddha. When one engages in the Lord's devotional service, he is to be understood to perform all his responsibilities in the material world. He has satisfied his forefathers, ordinary living entities, and demigods, and is free from all responsibility. Such a person does not need to meet his responsibilities separately. It is automatically done. Fruit of activity, karma, is meant to satisfy the senses of the conditioned soul. However, when one awakens to Krishna consciousness, he does not have to work separately for pious activity. The best achievement of all fruit of activity is detachment from material life, and this detachment is spontaneously enjoyed by the devotee firmly engaged in the Lord's service. This is sometimes a great challenge for someone who wants to become Krishna conscious. His mundane family members will put pressure on him that you need to do this and this and this and this and this and this. We're not very happy that you've done this. Krishna consciousness. I mean, why don't you just do something like get a job in a hospital and serve humanity? Why do you want to chant Hare Krishna? So if one does not have firm faith in this process, one will be going, oh, what am I doing? Why am I not feeding the poor? Why am I not helping the sick in the hospital? What am I doing? Just chanting Hare Krishna. I mean, what benefit is that? One may become doubtful. One has to have firm faith that the highest good that one can do for oneself and for all living entities is to awaken the Krishna consciousness within oneself and to then try to encourage and help all others to awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness. This faith is very, very important. To understand that by doing this, every other obligation is fulfilled. I have no other duties now. If I can simply do this one thing, therefore Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityaja, give up all other duties. Sarvadharman parityaja, mamekang sharanang vraja, and simply surrender unto me. So we have to trust Krishna, that He's not cheating us, that He's not misguiding us, that His words are absolute, that His words are universal law. If I just fully surrender myself to Krishna, then every single obligation has been fulfilled. I'm no longer bound by any other obligations because I've completely surrendered myself to Krishna. So this faith, when properly purified by good fortune having the tendency for higher consciousness, or by becoming purified by good association, then one will want to take that association which will strengthen one's resolve, strengthens one's determination to become liberated from material existence. So we speak about faith in God. Now many people, they will criticize, well, that's just your religious faith. So what is our faith in Krishna? Is that blind faith? Srila Prabhupada explained in his Bhagavad Gita purport, blind following is condemned. So simply to have some blind faith, that is not a very good thing. Our faith should be scientific faith. We should be able to philosophically analyze existence itself, who I am, what is this existence of which I am a part, with so many other beings. One should be able to philosophically analyze and understand, yes, there must be God. This is very important, that one has a scientific, one's faith is based on a scientific, logical understanding, philosophical understanding, intellectually sound understanding of reality. Then you can argue, you can defeat the atheist. You see. When Dr. Hawkins says that the universe comes out of absolutely nothing, you can cut his arguments to shreds. But if you're left wondering what to say, you don't know how a word to say, then it's not very good. One has to be able to, this is one measure of one's advancement in Krishna consciousness, how much one is able to defeat the arguments of atheists. So if we simply say, well, it says so in the Bhagavad Gita, well, that's true, that's all we need, but actually we need to know, we need that philosophical understanding to defeat our own demons of doubt within our own hearts. We need that philosophical understanding. And this is the unique quality of Srila Prabhupada's teachings. He not only gives the scriptural references, but he gives elaborate philosophical arguments so we can philosophically understand why there must be God. Very nice argument given by Prabhupada is that every machine requires an operator. We can analyze anything in this world, whether it's a MP3 recorder, a watch, a computer, an automobile, or even things within nature, the human body. We can analyze, there always any machine requires an operator. We can see them. You can analyze every single working unit within the whole universe, and they all have operators. Everyone. The computer runs very nicely, but it requires somebody to turn it on. If you can say, well, I have a computer that turns itself on, that's because you have something else was programmed by an operator. So there's always an operator. There has to be an operator behind every machine. There will be. If you analyze, you'll see every machine has an operator. It's just a fact. So then Prabhupada explains, so therefore, behind the gigantic machine, the cosmic universal machine, Prabhupada said, I can guess that it also has an operator. So this is a very powerful scientific logical argument. If every machine has an operator which can be scientifically verified, then it's logical, reasonable, and scientific to understand that the supreme machine, the universal machine, also has a supreme operator. That's completely logical. So such sort of philosophical understandings give one faith. So it's very important to read Prabhupada's books regularly and to hear these arguments given by Prabhupada and coming from himself and the previous acharyas, which he so nicely explained in these books. And then one can see the logic of Krishna consciousness. So these logical arguments are very, very important. Just like the argument we have many times explained, that there is a source for existence. Even the atheistic scientists want to know what is the origin of the universe. So there is some source out there, that is, everything has come from that source. So what is the nature of that source? Just like from a gold mine, if so much gold is being extracted from that gold mine, therefore the gold mine must necessarily possess gold. If it does not have gold, then how it can produce gold? So, since the source of existence is producing from itself or out from that source, so many persons have come. I'm a person, you're a person. So many millions and billions of persons have come out of that source of existence. So therefore that source must possess personality. Necessarily, it must. You can't get gold out of a goldless gold mine, nor can you get persons out of an impersonal source of existence. This is logical understanding. So therefore we can understand there is a source of existence, and that source has personality. Therefore, if it has personality, it must be a person. We've never seen something impersonal that possesses personality. Only persons possess personality. Therefore, that original source is a person. And then the question arises, then, well, why has that person done this? Was he in a bad mood when he created this material world, or what was going on? Is it a bad joke, or what's going on here? You see, we can actually understand why that original person has manifested this material existence and the spiritual existence. We understand that original person, just as we possess, we are tiny pieces or tiny particles of that Supreme Person. We have the tendency to want to enjoy, to be happy. We want unlimited happiness, actually. That is our nature. So that same tendency to want unlimited happiness is originally there in the Supreme Person. So that explains why that Supreme Person is expanded from himself so many varieties of living beings. Such a huge number, infinite number of living beings, he's expanded from himself. Just like in our lives we can see, the more we can have relationships. I have this friend, I have that friend, I have so many friends, you see. The more you can have relationships, loving relationships, the more your life becomes joyful. That's a fact. People like to make friends. Just like in our junior high school, if somebody was very popular, you would think that's the most happy person in the whole junior high school. The popular person who has so many relationships with people. So that original person, to expand his enjoyment unlimitedly, has expanded from himself an infinite number of living beings simply for the purpose of enjoying loving relationship with each and every one of them. Rasa, taste, relationship. So that's actually why we exist. We exist to love God. That's the only reason we exist. There's no other reason for our existence. We have mistakenly tried to be imitation gods, thinking we can enjoy in that way, but it's a big mistake. All we have to do is get back to being the subordinate, sold-out servants of the Supreme Lord. Come back to that original position of loving that Supreme Person. And then we will regain our original natural state of consciousness. So by understanding in a logical way what the existential situation actually is that we're living in, why is this planet here? Why is this country here? Why is these cities here? Everything is there within a divine plan of attracting and bringing every single living entity back to Krishna or God. There's no accidents. There's no freaks of nature going on here. Everything is happening on a divine plan. Everything's happening on a divine plan. So if we have this sort of vision, we have this sort of conviction, and we can actually see before us how the Lord's energy is working, then our faith becomes very strong. We become very solid in Krishna consciousness. So how does one increase that faith? That increase of faith comes by good association. Because when we associate with people whose faith is rajasic and tamasic, that's polluting influence. It's a polluting influence. Sangat sanjayate kama, one develops one's consciousness according to one's association. So since for livelihood or for education, mundane education, we may be exposed to so many persons whose faith is rajasic and tamasic, it is absolutely essential that we have the faith, the association of transcendentalists, so that we can purify our faith. We can have sattvic faith, which gradually, as I was explaining, can be transformed through this process, the Sraddha to Prema process of pure faith. So that Sadhu Sanga is very, very essential. And there's so many nice descriptions in the scriptures. We can read something now about Sadhu Sanga. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 23, text number 9. Konya bhagye kona jivera Sraddha yadihaya tabbe se jiva sadhu sanga ye karaya. If by good fortune a living entity develops faith in Krishna, he begins to associate with devotees. So this is an interesting indicator. Someone who actually has faith in Krishna will associate with devotees. You can judge how much faith somebody has by how much they want to associate with devotees. It is a natural consequence of the awakening of faith within the heart, the desire to associate with devotees. If someone says, I have great faith in God, but they don't want to associate with devotees, well, you understand it's not so great. Their faith is not so good. They're not inclined to associate with devotees. The impersonalist believes in God, that I am God. He doesn't want to associate with devotees. Because he doesn't want to have his I am God bubble popped by the devotees. But if one is actually a Vaishnava, he understands I'm the servant of God, he will naturally want to associate with the Vaishnava. And this is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22, text 83. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sanga Krishna Prema Janme Tenho Punak Mukya Anga. The root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is association with advanced devotees. Even when one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, association with devotees is still most essential. Now that's a very poignant point. You can't say, well, I'm advanced now, I don't need devotee association. That's called advanced omniscience. Advanced devotees also they're greedy for devotee association. Why? Because the more you advance, and just like a businessman, you see, the more he makes money, the more his appetite for money increases. He was pretty enthusiastic about becoming a millionaire, but now he's even more enthusiastic to become a billionaire, you see. Material example. So in a similar way, the more one advances in Krishna consciousness by associating with devotees, he's just relishing so much nectar from his whatever advancement he's made. It's so sweet, it's so relishable. Now he's greedy, he wants more and more and more, so he just tries to increase his association, more association, more association, more association. So that's the sign of somebody who's actually advancing. They're even more enthusiastic to associate than they were before. That's advancement. The more you desire devotee association, that's the sign you're becoming more and more advanced now, more and more advanced. Not that I don't need the devotees now, I'm advanced. Now here's the classic famous verse, the Sadhu Sanga verse, C.C. Madhya 22:54. Sadhu Sanga Sarva Shastrekaya Lavamatra Sadhu Sanga Sarva Siddhihaya. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. Lavamatra is the Bengali, even for a moment. Can you imagine? All it takes is one moment. Lavamatra, you know how much a lava is? It's 1/11th of a second. 1/11th of a second. If you can associate with a pure devotee for even 1/11th of a second, you can achieve all success. This is the statement. This is not an exaggeration. This is scientific fact. It's just it's a matter of what is the quality of our taking advantage of that moment. You see? We saw Prabhupada. What was the quality of his taking advantage of that one brief meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Prabhupada didn't even want to go to that meeting. His friend Narendranath Malak, he dragged him. He was there, and Narendranath came. He said, Abhay Babu, this great sadhu has come from Mayapur. You must come and hear him. Great devotee of the Lord, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, you must come and hear him. You see, in Prabhupada's circle of associates, he was considered the leader. If he would certify that something was good, everyone would think, yes, it is a good thing. He was always seen as the leader. So they wanted him to certify that this sadhu was, yes, really good sadhu. But he had had so many experiences. His father, Gaur Mahan De, was very pure-hearted devotee, pure devotee. But he was very much soft-hearted. Every night he would invite the sadhus for prasadam, and sometimes they were bona fide sadhus, sometimes they were not so bona fide, professional sadhus who make a show of being a sadhu to get their rice dal and chapatis. So, when he was invited by Narendranath to come and meet the sadhus, yes, I know these sadhus. He didn't want to go, you see, but Narendranath insisted, no, you must come. Finally he went. He finally succumbed to the pressure of Narendranath Malak and went to see the sadhu, you see. And as soon as he comes in, immediately he gets an instruction that you must spread this Krishna consciousness message to the English-speaking world. And so he argued against that who will hear us? We are a dependent nation. First we must get independence. He was wearing the white khadi in those days. That means you're part of the anti-establishment movement, the Gandhian movement. Wanting to break the British rule over India. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur convinced him that actually this is much more important than any political thing. You see, the message of Krishna does not depend on political situation. It must go out irregardless of political situation. So he was convinced by the arguments and immediately accepted, yes, this is my spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada said, practically, he initiated me. Prabhupada did not get his diksha for another 11 years, but he immediately took complete shelter. Just like in ISKCON, we have shelter and then initiation. He didn't get any official authorized shelter, he just took shelter. He said, this is my spiritual master. He didn't ask for permission, he just did it within his heart. This is my spiritual master. And from then on, he was always thinking, oh, I have met such a wonderful saintly person. He was constantly remembering Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati from that moment on. And then later on, when the devotees came, he was so happy and he fully cooperated with them to help push forward the movement there in Allahabad. And then after not too much later, they recommended him for initiation. He got initiated. But just that brief meeting, you see, completely transformed his consciousness. Completely transformed his consciousness. So we have to see this quality of Srila Prabhupada, how he could take advantage of that Sadhu Sanga. And we have to learn also how to take advantage of that Sadhu Sanga. Not that I remain a materialist. I get the Sadhu Sangha, but I remain attached to material life, you see. That we have to give up. We have to give up that tendency. We have to think, now I've met a great saintly teacher, now let me follow this pathway that he has so wonderfully explained. Let me follow this pathway with full dedication, you see. This means your faith is in the mode of goodness, you see. Instead of putting faith in career will make me happy, or this will make me happy, family will make me happy. Instead of putting your faith in these things, that's rajasic faith, you see, or tamasic faith. One must put his faith in this thing, the pathway back to home, back to Godhead. That's all I need. If I simply can perfect this pathway, then my life will become completely perfect. I'll become totally successful in every possible way if I simply put my faith into this bhakti process in the association of the devotees. And now a little summary here from Prabhupada about this wonderful Sadhu Sangha. Another point I mean to say. This is his purport to the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 14, text number 38. He says, even by a little association with devotees, the conditioned soul can get out of this miserable material condition. This Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to give everyone a chance to associate with saintly people. Therefore, all the members of this Krishna consciousness movement, society, must themselves be perfect sadhus in order to give a chance to fallen conditioned souls. This is the best humanitarian work. So the sloka says, the Sadhu Sangha sloka says, a moment's association with the pure devotee, one can attain all success. And one may say, well, where's the pure devotee? Well, you're supposed to be the pure devotee. This is Prabhupada's point. You're supposed to become that pure devotee who can bless the people with the association of a pure devotee. So that, he says, all the members of this society must become perfect sadhus. That means pure devotees. Every member of ISKCON must become a perfect sadhu. So Prabhupada is, if you're an ISKCON member, you're ordered by Prabhupada now to become a pure devotee. It's Prabhupada's order to you. In that way, the mission of the society can become successful. Because then by people associating with you, by giving lava matcha 1/11th of a second of your contact, they'll become transformed. I've seen one godbrother, he was working in some kind of IT field, and he would simply take his Bhagavad Gita to work with him, and he put it there on the desk, open so everyone could see who walked by. And one boy named Randy, he saw this Bhagavad Gita, he was very interested, and he inquired, he read Gita, and he became a devotee. Just by associating with a co-worker in the office who openly placed his Bhagavad Gita as it is out on the desk, he became a devotee. So in this way, we have to ourselves become perfect sadhus. We chant our 16 rounds regularly, we strictly follow the regulated principles. And we try to give people a way to connect. Just like I have made an attempt on the internet with this Ultimate Self-Realization course, and it's very successful. We have over 12,000 people who are connecting. Many of you are also connected on that. So the point is, everyone should try to become as pure as you possibly can in your devotional service, for the sake of the suffering people of this world. You should, to please Prabhupada, his order is that we all must become pure devotees, perfect sadhus, so that anyone who contacts us They'll become blessed, even by a moment's association. So we should always be very happy and eager to give people Krishna-conscious association. It's not that I think that I'm great, that, oh wow, they're going to get my association. Not like that. We should just think I'm the humble servant of the previous acharyas, you see. We're delivering a message. But let me simply deliver that message purely, without any adulteration, with full faith. Exactly what is the message that has come down from Krishna through the line of spiritual masters? What is that pure message? And we should instruct people in that way. Jari deka tarikaha Krishna upadesh amara agayu guru hoya tare desh. Whomever you meet, instruct him in the teachings of Lord Krishna. In this way, on my order, you become a spiritual master and deliver the people of this country. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order for all of his followers, for all of us Chaitanyaites. We are all on our orders to become gurus, to deliver this message to the suffering people of this planet. So the more we have faith, the more we have devotee association, the more we'll become purified and empowered to do this service for Lord Chaitanya. And as we've many times stated, the more you give Krishna, the more you get Krishna. So the more that we're actually empowered and able to give Krishna to others, to that extent we'll be able to experience Krishna ourselves. So therefore devotees we're always greedy to look for preaching opportunities. Not that we should, if we're in a society of devotees, we should always let the senior devotee do the preaching. Sometimes the neophytes who are eager for preaching will step over that etiquette, and that's not good. If there's a senior devotee present, we should let that senior devotee do the preaching, and we should hear that devotee how he preaches. And then when there's no senior present, then we should be very eager to do the preaching ourselves. To be too eager to do the preaching in the presence of a more advanced devotee, that's an aparad, that's an offense. We should always let the senior devotee, the senior-most devotee who is present, do the preaching in that situation. And learn, listen and learn how they are preaching very nicely. In that way, by having the proper etiquette in the association of devotees, then we will become very much empowered by Krishna and by Guru to be able to push forward this movement with great vigor and enthusiasm and determination and intelligence. So I can ask now if there's any questions. They're supposed to write them down now, right? Anybody, any written questions down to pass forward? Yeah, please, that's easier for me if you can write them on a piece of paper. Everybody should be writing questions down during these sessions and then passing them up at the appropriate time. If there's any questions written down now, or you want to ask one? Okay. Go ahead.
Maharaj, what is the difference between real faith and artificial faith?
Okay, what is the difference between real faith and artificial faith? As Prabhupada explains in his purport in the Bhagavad Gita, artificial faith is faith within the modes of material nature. And real faith is pure faith in the mode of pure goodness, faith in God. If I put my faith, for example, in a mundane political leader, that's artificial. Because that person is not really capable of satisfying me and making me happy. But if I put my faith in God, I put my faith in Krishna, that faith is real faith. So that's the difference. Any faith within the modes of nature, even if it's in the mode of goodness, that's still a contamination. One may put his faith in the process of impersonal meditation, denying the material enjoyments. He may accept some impersonal philosophy, putting his faith in it, but that is also artificial. Aruya kishchaina parang padam pada padanjiro nadrasa yushmadangrayaha. Even after undergoing great penances and austerities of impersonal practice to achieve the Brahman, patanti adho they fall down again. So that faith in the impersonal, in Sayuja Mukti, that is also artificial faith. Any faith which is not 100% reliable to give you complete satisfaction is artificial. Only faith in that thing which is 100% totally in all times, places and situations capable of completely satisfying me, only that faith is real. Every other kind of faith is artificial. Yeah, go ahead and write it down, that'll be easier. Any other the written questions are easier because I am a little bit deaf and it makes it easier if it's written down. Much easier. I'm going, what? I can still read. I can't hear so good, but I can still read really good. So that's why if you write some questions down and pass them forward. I don't see any questions here. Please write your questions and pass them forward. Yeah?
Guru Maharaj, you described how to argue with materialists.
Mm-hmm.
Why such arguing is not considered to be a violation of the ninth offense?
Okay. Now, the ninth offense is to instruct the faithless persons in the glories of the holy name. So, it doesn't say, it's specifically read exactly what's stated there. It doesn't say to preach to the faithless person is an offense. It doesn't say that. It says to preach the glories of the holy name. Prabhupada told us to approach every materialist and ask him, what is your philosophy? And then cut his philosophy to shreds, defeat it. He never said, don't preach. He said, don't preach the glories of the holy name to the faithless person. In other words, don't cast your pearls before swine. If you say, yeah, the name of Krishna is so... You go up to an atheist and say, the name of Krishna is so sweet, it's non-different from Krishna, and he's all beautiful, all powerful, and he just starts blaspheming. That's what it means. You don't do that. First of all, you defeat his atheism. Make him qualified for a higher subject matter. We are meant to approach everyone and give them Krishna consciousness in such a way that they don't commit any offense. What that specifically means is if by your preaching people are committing offenses, then you're subject to also getting reaction for doing that. You're unintelligently preaching in such a way that wherever you go, people are committing blasphemy when you preach to them. You have to intelligently present it in such a way that people go, wow, that's pretty interesting. I never thought of it like that before. I never considered life in that way before. So that's what it means. You have to intelligently preach in such a way that people are really, really inspired and impressed by your preaching. So they become transformed. So this is your question coming in now? Okay. All right, you said we have to build a fence to protect our faith. Can you please give an example? Yes. The fence means protecting against Vaishnava aparad. Now, how will I prevent myself from committing a Vaishnava aparad? Some of them may say, well, I'm just going to go live on a remote island somewhere, and then I won't have to worry about offending devotees. But that violates the principle that one who actually is getting that awakening of faith will desire to associate with devotees. If one wants to avoid offenses by being aloof from the devotees, then it means they're not really getting that awakening of faith within their heart. So how then does one... What is the real meaning then of building a fence around the garden of the heart to prevent offenses? A fence to prevent offense. You see, that's what we're talking about. A fence to prevent offense. So how do you do that? How do you construct such a fence? That answer is given by Krishna in the Adi Purana. Ye me bhakta jana parata na me bhakta shtate janaha mad bhakchanam chaye bhaktas te me bhakta tamamata. He says, my dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, the one who is my devotee, he's not my devotee. But the one who is the devotee of my devotee, he is my actual devotee. So you want to avoid offending devotees? You won't get it by disassociating from them. You won't get that. You only get it by becoming a devotee of the devotees. That's how you give up being offensive to devotees. There may be some disagreements. That happens sometimes in any society. Even in the society of devotees, there are sometimes disagreements. But we have to see that even though we have disagreed on this point, we all agree that Krishna is God. You're trying to serve Krishna in your way, I'm trying to serve Krishna in my way, but at least we can see that we're both trying to serve Krishna, and we should both appreciate each other, that we're both trying to serve Krishna. You see? So you should always find some place in your heart, even if a devotee has been very rude and offensive to you, being a neophyte, a devotee has been very rude and offensive to you, still you should find some place in your heart to appreciate the qualities of that person. Well, at least he's, he may be not on the highest level of Krishna consciousness, but at least he's trying to, in his own way, to serve Prabhupada's mission. We have to find some way to appreciate each and every devotee. Even if he's not a very high quality, high grade devotee, even if he's tamasic, rajasic devotee. And there are such categories mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are devotees in the mode of ignorance, devotees in the mode of passion, devotees in the mode of goodness, and the pure devotees completely beyond the modes. There are devotees in all four categories. So we have to learn how to appreciate devotees on every single level. Even the tamasic, the kanishta adhikaris, we appreciate they're beginning their pathway back to Godhead. And we want to act in such a way to encourage them, not discourage them, that they are encouraged to advance further and further along this pathway. So in this way, by always appreciating devotees, then you have protected yourself from committing offense. Gurudev, please explain to us the meaning of association with the pure devotee. So that Sanga, Sanskrit word, that Sanga means there's two types of Sangha, given as Prabhupada has explained. There's Vani and Vapu. Vani means the instructions, the orders. Vapu means the physical presence. Now whenever Vapu is there, one should do everything one can to serve the spiritual master in his physical presence. Whatever service he may need, his laundry, his prasadam, his living accommodations, his travel expenses, whatever you can do to serve him, whatever according to your capacity, whatever you can do to serve the spiritual master on his physical needs, do that. That's very important. And the other, which is the Vani Seva, that's even more important. Because the spiritual master will not always physically be present. Even while he's here in this world, sometimes he's in your country, sometimes he's on the other side of the world, he's traveling here and there to spread the cult of bhakti. So he's not always going to be physically present for you to physically serve him, even while he's on this planet. What to speak of the fact that someday he will disappear, he'll go back to Goloka Vrindavan, and he'll no longer be here to physically serve on this plane. So therefore, of the two types of service, the Vani Seva Sangha is more important. Because Vani Seva means, I take your Guru Maharaj, I accept your order as my life and soul. As soon as you do that, your spiritual master enters your heart. As soon as you take the order of your spiritual master as your life and soul, then your Guru Maharaj is now entered into your heart. And you've entered into his heart. And that's very solid association. When you're living in his heart and he's living in your heart at every minute, 24 hours a day, in all times, all places, and all circumstances. So that is the most powerful association. Therefore, to hear the words of your spiritual master, even in spoken lectures, by attending the lecture is the most powerful thing you can do, is attend lectures of your spiritual master. Whenever you have the chance, sit and hear. This was Prabhupada's great qualification. As I've many times told the story, he took some break from his business to come and associate in Vrindavan with Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in the evening time, because Bhaktisiddhanta was speaking in very, very erudite English, the materialistic demeanor cannot possibly stretch to the transcendental autocrat in this way. He was speaking in very, very lofty, erudite English, that even we native speakers have to get out our unabridged dictionaries to see what he's talking about. So very few people would attend those lectures. Mostly the devotees, they would go for darshan at that time. Only a small handful of sannyasis would be there, but there was one pharmaceutical businessman from Allahabad, Bhai Day. He would sit there very dutifully. He said, Guru Maharaj, when Guru Maharaj would speak, I would go on listening. He said, I would understand or I would not understand, but still I would go on listening. So he said, and then when they recommended, it's like in ISKCON they recommend for Diksha. So the devotees, Allahabad devotees, they recommended for Diksha, this Abhay Charan Dev. He said, yes, the others go away, but he hears. Therefore I will accept him as my disciple. So the most important principle is you develop that habit, that taste, that tendency, that whenever my spiritual master is speaking, I must hear, I must hear, I must hear. So attend the lectures, hear the recorded lectures, watch the videos, hear the audios, read his writings. In this way, always take that order of your spiritual master as your very life and soul. And then you'll never be separated from it, even for a moment. Just like Prabhupada ordered me, as I've many times explained, continue enthusiastically as you are doing, and surely Krishna will bless you. So I've embraced that order as my very life and soul. And because of that, I'm always enthusiastic in all circumstances. I may be healthy, I may be sick, I may be honored, I may be dishonored. The flight may be on time, it may be postponed by 30 hours like it was the other day in South Africa. 30-hour delay, 30 hours late flight. But in every situation, you see, we can maintain that enthusiasm. Because Prabhupada wants me to always be enthusiastic, to hear, chant, remember, and serve that all-powerful, all-beautiful, all-renounced, all-knowledgeable, all-wealthy, and all-famous Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Lord Sri Krishna, who was standing on the bank of the Jamuna in the beautiful moonlit night of the Sharat season, in the yellow dhoti with a peacock feather in his hair, playing the fifth note on the flute, blowing that beautiful fifth note on the flute and attracting the hearts of all the cowherd girls. You see? So the real meaning of association is you embrace that order as your life and soul. You take that order deep into your heart. As deep as you can get it, take the order of your spiritual master into your heart. That's the real meaning of association. Okay, any other question? All right, good. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Can you please elaborate on how to take shelter of Guru while trying to take our chanting to Namabhas and Shuddhanam. Yes. Well, you can't do it by mechanically. You can't go to Namabhas and Shuddhanam by your own strength. If you think you can do it by your own strength, you're in delusion. You're suffering from a grand delusion. If you think by your own strength you're going to come to Namabhas and Shuddhanam. It's only by taking shelter of the spiritual master, by his mercy only, that you can come to Shuddhanam, the Namabhas and Shuddhanam. Namabhas is the stage before Shuddhanam. Just like before the sun peeps up over the eastern horizon, there's a glow that comes on the eastern horizon. Even though you don't see the sun yet, you see the glow, you see. So the holy name is so powerful that even before the holy name has appeared, the glow of the holy name has come. That's called Namabhas. It's the stage just before Shuddhanam. You're getting enlightenment, but it's not there yet, but still you're getting the enlightenment. So that only comes by Guru's mercy. So therefore we only get Namabhas and Shuddhanam. We only get those things by taking shelter of spiritual master. Otherwise you don't get them. Otherwise you're upstart. You think you can become a devotee without becoming a devotee of the devotee. There Krishna says you don't get any bhakti. You're not devoted to my devotee, you don't get any bhakti. How do you keep your mind wandering while chanting? Oh, how do you keep your mind off from wandering? Okay. Well, when you're driving down the highway, how do you stay on the highway? If you notice you're going a little off, you just adjust, isn't it? You keep your hand on the steering wheel. That's how you keep yourself from going off the highway. So you have to keep your hands, your virtual hands on the virtual steering wheel when you're chanting. You've got to keep your hands on the wheel. When you see you're going off, oh, there's a girl over there, or there's some money over there, or there's some this or that. You just got to wait, I'm getting off the track here. You have to know when you're getting off the track, and you got to get yourself back on the track. Yato nischalati manas chanchalamashtaram tatastatam yanayatad ashnanyeva vishangniyam. From wherever and wherever the mind may wander due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly control it and bring it back under the control of the self. One must conquer it and bring it back under the control of the self. Do we need the mode of goodness to get faith? If so, how did Mugrari get faith? He was not in the mode of goodness. Well, Mugrari got goodness by the association of Narad Muni, that's okay. By that Sadhu Sanga. By that association, as we explained a few moments ago, even if one does not have the tendency for faith, sattvic faith, if one associates with devotees, then that can come by the mercy of their association. So that's what happened to him. By good association, he got that faith in the process of self-realization. He put his faith in the words of Narada Muni. By the mercy of Narada Muni, he was able to put his faith in the words of Narada Muni. As every machine requires an operator, then even Krishna needs to be operated. That's how non-devotees think. As devotees, we accept Krishna as the origin of everything, but karmis do not understand it, how to convince them. Well, if somebody doesn't want to be convinced, you'll never convince them. So the first thing is you defeat their arguments. That's the first principle. You have to put them in a position where they're ready to hear. If they're just arguing with you, then it's not time to convince them about Krishna. You have to first of all defeat them. This is Prabhupada's instruction, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. You ask them what is their philosophy and you defeat it. When they've had the philosophical rug pulled out from under them, they have no philosophical leg to stand on, and they're begging, and then they're ready to hear. You see, as long as they want to educate you and enlighten you with their realization of the absolute truth. It's not time to convince them. First convince them they don't know what they're talking about. That's the first business. And then convince them about Krishna. Hare Krishna, what is association? How do we associate with devotees? How does one know that he has taken association? Is it possible to be in the Sadhu Sanga stage without having full Sraddha? Alright, one at a time. What is association? Well, association means to be in the presence of someone. You're getting their association. You can be, it can be in the physical presence, or you can read some book they've written, their words. That's another type of association. How do we associate with devotees? Well, there's favorable association and unfavorable association. Favorable and unfavorable means someone who comes to harass the devotees. They're associating, but in an unfavorable way. Just like Hamsa was sending so many asuras to associate with Krishna in an unfavorable way, trying to kill him. So that sort of association we don't want, but we want the positive association. That means you hear from the devotees, you serve the devotees, you chant with the devotees, you take prasadam with the devotees, you inquire from the devotees, you give gifts to the devotees, you receive gifts from the devotees, this way. How to know that he has taken association? All right, the devotees gave you some prasadam. Did you honor the prasadam? Did you throw it away, or did you eat it? If you ate it, then you've taken association. They came and they offered you a book. Did you take the book, or did you say no, thank you? If you took the book and you gave a donation, then you've done a very nice job of taking association. Is it possible to be on the Sadhu Sanga stage without having full Shraddha? Well, there's a difference between Sadhu Sanga and the Sadhu Sanga stage. In other words, you can be associating with sadhus in an offensive way, as I mentioned a moment ago. Pratikul instead of anukul. You can be associated, you can have Sadhu Sanga in an unfavorable way. But to actually be in the Sadhu Sanga stage means, yes, you must have faith. You must have very strong faith. To reach the stage of embracing the sadhu's association as your life and soul, that I must always associate with devotees as much as possible, then obviously you must have very strong faith to come to that position. Srila Prabhupada writes in many purports about having faith to adhere to the process. Could you elaborate on this? Yeah, you have to believe that it works. Why are you going to spend your whole life, especially getting initiated, to give your whole life to this process if you don't believe it's going to work? You have to have faith if it's going to work. Dear Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisance. Should we really become greedy in Krishna consciousness? Or this is said just to use something, the mood, like greediness in Krishna consciousness, because the more Krishna he gives, the more of Krishna we get. A greedy person may not be willing to share Krishna with others. Now Rupa Goswami is not hyping us when he says that we must become, that greed is the only way to get pure bhakti. Tattalayam. You should hear the way, when Prabhupada quotes this verse, you should hear the way he says it. I'm trying to repeat it. Of course, I can't do it the way Prabhupada did it, but I'm trying to give you some idea. Prabhupada says, Tattalayam, with great power and potency. Lalayam is greediness. So Prabhupada emphasized so much this point that you must be one greedy, must be very greedy to get Krishna bhakti. Intense eagerness, yes, I must have it, I must have it, I must have it. you see. Yes, that mood must be there. It's not just some simile, a poetic simile. You must literally be greedy for Krishna bhakti. And if you really have, it's not that, well, I'm greedy to have it, therefore I'm not going to share it. No, it's not like that. In the material world, the more you're greedy, the less you're willing to share, you see. But in Krishna consciousness, the more you're greedy to have Krishna, the more you're greedy to share Krishna, because the more you give Krishna, the more you get Krishna. In this way. Question, Hare Krishna, Krishna, something resides in everyone's heart as the super soul. Even though a fallen soul left Krishna out of envy, Krishna still didn't give up on the fallen soul and always is with the fallen soul. Then why a bona fide spiritual master is not accepting a disciple immediately? Wait. Then why a bona fide spiritual master is not accepting a disciple immediately until the disciple follows the regulated principle? Oh, okay. Some would say, well, Gurudev, just give me your blessings, give me your mercy. So I have to explain to them that blessings actually come in the form of instructions. In other words, one wants to have the blessings of the spiritual master. It's not that the spiritual master just waves some magic wand, now you're a pure devotee, here I'll wave a wand over your head, make you a pure devotee. Not like that. One actually gets the mercy according to how much he surrenders to the instructions of the spiritual master. So if one wants blessings, all right, here's the instructions, do this, 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 this. And to whatever degree you've agreed to follow those instructions, to that degree the blessings come. It's not that you can say, okay, give me your blessings, I can become a pure devotee. Then I go off, I smoke some marijuana, have a few cigarettes, drink a few beers, go out with a few prostitutes and say, give me your mercy, I can become a pure devotee. You know what I mean? You have to, the spiritual master's blessings come in the form of his instructions. So when I dutifully obey the orders of my spiritual master, that's how the mercy comes. The spiritual master is willing to give he's willing to take the time and trouble to personally instruct you and give you a personalized, tailor-fitted program for your spiritual advancement back to home, back to God, and that is his kindness. But now once you get the instructions, you have to do that. He's willing to do everything he can for each and every jiva soul to help that individual person come out of the clutches of Maya, but you have to do your side. Salvation is a two-sided thing, is it? Prabhupada gives the example of a husband and wife who want to have a child. You see, the husband has to be potent, sexually potent, and the wife has to also be sexually potent. If the husband is potent and the wife is impotent, there will be no child, you see. So the spiritual master, if he's a bona fide spiritual master, he has full potency to inject Krishna bhakti within the heart of the living entity. He has the full potency to do that. And he's willing to do that. He wants to inject the pure bhakti in the heart of every single living entity in the whole universe. That's why the spiritual master, the pure devotee, is called Jagat Guru. Because he wants to. We see Prabhupada, his desire, and Lord Chaitanya also, they want to inject pure Krishna bhakti in the heart of every single living entity throughout the whole universe. It's not they don't want to deliver someone. No, they want to deliver everyone. But because the person can only become delivered when they actually do their side, they have to be potent on their side now too. Therefore, it's required. There has to be that following of the principle. Spiritual master cannot liberate someone who doesn't want to follow the regulated principle. It's not possible. They have to do their side of it. A student can It looks like easily, but I don't know is this correct? Whose question? Okay. A student can easily become perfected? Is that the word, easily?
She want to read it.
Huh?
She want to read this one itself.
Oh, okay. A student can easily become perfected?
This is actually the continuation of the question. A student can easily become perfected, like a child who learns from its mistake with the help of a caring mother. I'm sorry to sound immature, but a beyond repeat soul like me really want to have the association of sadhus who are true devotees like you. Why can't mercy and affection come before strict regulations? Having said that, I respect the regulating principles and there should be no compromise for them.
Let me try on the paper again. I think I have a little better luck with the paper. You can fill in a few missing words, I'll probably do. Okay, easily is the word. Okay, a student can easily become perfected, like a child who learns its mistakes with the help of the loving mother. Okay. I'm sorry to sound immature, but a beyond repair soul like me really wants to have the association of a sadhu who is a pure devotee. A pure devotee, then you say like you? Okay. Why can't mercy and affection come before? Oh, it is there. The mercy, actually, the spiritual master's mercy and affection is there, even before you can take to the regulated principle. That's a thing. Prabhupada was so. If you can look at just the history of ISKCON, and you can see a perfect example of this. Prabhupada came to New York City, and nobody was following any regulated principles. They were all smoking marijuana, taking LSD. They had their girlfriends. They weren't even married. It was a pretty wild hippie scene. And Prabhupada came there and just showered his mercy on those hippies. He gave them prasadam. He would cook. He would whatever little money he collected, he would go shopping and buy the groceries. He would come back and cook the feast. He would personally serve every person. He would serve these hippies the prasadam, and then after the prasadam, he would go wash the dishes. They would all leave, and he would personally go and wash all the dishes himself. And not one of them was following any regulated principles, you see. So the pure devotee, you see, a bona fide spiritual master does not depend on your following the rules and regulations to give you his love and affection. He doesn't depend on them. Now, diksha, that's another thing. Diksha means when you commit to following his instructions. But it's not that if he only gives mercy to those who take diksha, no. He gives his mercy to everyone. He gives his mercy to everyone. Especially those who show interest to learn about the process of Krishna consciousness. So the fact that you're here, this retreat shows that you have some interest. So the spiritual master is very much willing and eager to bestow all love and affection upon you, to encourage you, to empower you, that you can get that higher taste for what is bhakti. Because in this world we're suffering right now, going after what is called the mundane rasa, the bhoga rasa, the taste of sense enjoyment. And we get some sensation of happiness from that, but then we're left high and dry, we're left frustrated and miserable. So the spiritual master, he's very eager to give those persons who have come for his association, he's very eager to give those persons an experience of a happiness which is beyond this material world, through the form of the kirtan, through the form of opportunities for rendering service, through the form of the transcendental descriptions of the process of Krishna consciousness and the transcendental descriptions of the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. He wants to bestow all loving affection upon the persons who have come to learn from him. It's not like that the spiritual master has to imitate this so-called hugging guru. Well, everyone lines up and they get a big warm hug, you see. It's not that this is superficial and artificial thing. The actual love and affection of the spiritual master is to inject within your heart the transcendental teachings of Lord Krishna through the form of transcendental sound vibration. The spiritual master injects your heart with this transcendental knowledge, and that is the most profound giving of love that one could ever experience. To hear from a bona fide spiritual master and describing in pure details, in a bona fide way, according to the previous acharyas, exactly what are the teachings of Krishna, how you can get out of the cycle of birth and death and go back to home, back to Godhead in this very lifetime. Okay? Yeah. So I hope you feel the love and affection now. All right, good. In the Brahman and cobbler story, what is the nature of their faith? This is a nice example of faith. There was one devotee. He was going back to the Lord, the spiritual world. Must have been Narada Muni, going to meet Lord Narayan. So along the way, the cobbler and the Brahmana, they were both very interested to know. And when will I become, what is that story? When will I become delivered?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
When will I become delivered? And why don't you tell it, Devi?
Well, Narada Muni was passing by and he came to the Brahmana, and Brahmana says, how much time it will take him to go back home.
Hmm.
So, could you please ask Lord Narayan, since you are going there? So Narada Muni said, okay. And then he further went on. The similar question was asked by cobbler. So when Narada Muni reached Vaikuntha and approached Lord Narayan, and he asked this question. So for Brahmana, Lord Narayan said, it will take many, many births. And Narada Muni was shocked why it is going to take him many, many births. So he is doing so many pujas, so many rituals, so many things. So Lord Narayan said, just tell him, but if he asks why it is going to take so many, so if he asks you that what Lord Narayan was doing, you are joking, you didn't go there, you are just making. So when he asks you what Lord Narayan was doing, just to be sure that Narada Muni was telling the truth. So Lord Narayan told him, tell him that Lord Narayan was putting the element through the eye of the needle. So Narada Muni could understand the question, so he left there. And when he came to Brahmana, when Brahmana asked him, did you ask this question? And Narada Muni said yes, and now Lord Narayan said this, and the same thing, Lord Narayan knows it, so he said what Narayan was doing there. So he said Lord Narayan was putting the elephant through the eye of the needle. And he said, you joking? How could he be doing that? Nobody can do that. Why you are joking? So Narada Muni left it at that, and he went passing again and came to the cobbler. And the cobbler asked a similar question, and Narada Muni said, yes, Lord Narayan was putting the elephant through the needle of the eye of the needle. And oh, so great. Brahmana said, so great. Lord Narayan is so great. He can do anything and everything. So Narada Muni asked him, how do you believe this? How could you have that faith? Then he said, if Lord Narayan can put a big, look at this banyan tree, and if Lord Narayan can put in a small seed this big banyan tree and many big banyan trees, so why can't he put that elephant to the eye of the needle? That was his faith.
So this is faith, you see. We have to have the faith of the cobbler that Krishna can do anything. There's nothing conceivable or inconceivable that Krishna cannot do. You see? We have to have that unflinching faith. Anything and everything can be done by Lord Krishna. Some people say, well, if God's the, all right, God's the creator, but then who created him? You see? They don't have faith that somebody could be the original source of all existence. They ask, well, why, who's the creator of the creator then? Well, the creator doesn't have a creator, then otherwise he's not the creator. The creator doesn't require a creator, otherwise he's not the creator, he's the created. So we have to have faith that there's an original person who's the source of all existence, who has all power. They say, well, why does God exist then? He exists for the pleasure of existing. His existence is blissful. It's not like our existence right now, suffering existence. God's existence is blissful. Anandamaya vyasat. He's existing for the sheer ecstasy of existing. Where did he come from? From himself. How did he get there? By his desire to be there. It doesn't fit into our normal pattern of thinking, but this is called transcendental knowledge. You have to have faith that there is that person who exists just for the sake of the joy of existing, who is existing out of his own being. He causes himself to exist. He's self-manifested. And he's behind the whole thing. We have to have faith in that. Even if it doesn't make sense always logically. We have to have faith in it, just like the Kabbalah. So I think now we're having the... What time do you want to begin this next program for the Bhakti Siddhanta? It's 11:45 now. Our schedule now is... Now we're going to have a Puspanjali for Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. That's the schedule. 12:40 you said. Oh, that's 12:40. Oh, then we have some time. Oh, free time now. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking an hour ahead. All right, so now we have free time. We'll come back here at 12:40 to worship.
Depends on the offering is ready, we'll bring the offering.
Come at 12:30?
Yeah.
All right, then we're going to be back here in 45 minutes to worship His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajakacharya Astatarisadhishi Shrimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Sriman Sankarshan Das Adhikari Maharaj ki.